So lesson 5, currency exchange rates. So different countries have different monetary units or different currencies, right? So the Canadians have dollars, Americans have dollars too, but it's a different dollar. Whereas other ones have different, like it's called different, the British pound, the Mexican peso, etc. So it's important when traveling to consider the exchange rates, right? The value of your monetary unit compared to the other. You will be given the exchange rate in the problem and you do not need to memorize them. So always use the information that is given to you. So 1 Thai baht is worth 0.023541 of a Canadian dollar. How many bahts would a tourist in Thailand receive for $200 Canadian? Okay, so there's a few things that I want us to do when we start a question like this. So one, and I don't know the symbol for this. I'm just going to say 1 baht equals 0.02351 dollars. So is a Canadian dollar worth more or less than 1 baht? You think about it for a second. A Canadian dollar is going to be worth more. In fact, a lot more. 1 baht is about 2 cents. So if we're putting in $200, we are going to be getting a lot of bahts out of that. Right? And CAD, I'll just put that out there as well. So we're going to set this up like we did our proportional reasoning at the beginning of this chapter. I need to know, so this is my question mark, how many bahts I would get for $200 Canadian. Now I can work off of this relation, but I like to put it into a fraction. So 1b over 0.02351 dollars equals my unknown over $200. And again, I am going to cross multiply. So this b, remember, that's just my unit. It doesn't really do anything. Maybe I won't have my units here. Fractions are hard enough as is sometimes. So without the units, I have 1 times $200. That's just 200 equals my big decimal, 0.023541 times my x. And I need x by itself, so I need to divide by this big long decimal. And what I do on one side, I have to do to the other. That cancels out. We pull up our calculator because I really don't expect you to be able to do this in your head. 0.023541. We're getting 8495.8158. That's good enough, is my x. Okay, so now it doesn't say what to round to, but it does say how many bahts. Let's go to the nearest whole number. So I'm here. So I'm going to look at this one. 8 is bigger than 5 in the middle, so I'm going to round up. So I'm going to get approximately 8,496 Thai bahts. Would be my final answer there. Okay. Our next example is going to be between the American and Canadian dollar. So these are going to be, of course, much similar values. So on eBay, I found an iPad mini that costs $375 American. And I realized that was not the Canadian website, but American. If 1 Canadian dollar is worth 0.94192 of an American dollar, what is the actual price in Canadian dollars? Well, I am told 1 Canadian equals 0.94192 American. And I want to know how much Canadian is it going to be for $375 American. Now this one I'm going to do in our other method, so you've seen both ways in this video. So the other way we can do this is by working off of these two equality statements. So I'm going to go from here. So if I have 375, how do I get from this 0.94192? So I'm going to take my bottom number, my 375, and divide it by the top, 94192. So what happens when I do this? I get 375 divided by 0.94192. So that gives me 398.1229. And that means now going in this direction, I would need to multiply 0.94192 by this 398.1229 in order to get that value. What I do to this side, I have to do to the other side. So I now have $1 Canadian times 398.1229 would give me this 398.1229. So the actual price in Canadian dollars, a bit of a shortcut here, would be $398.12. Again, either method works for me, so you could do however you feel more comfortable. Okay, so a little bit of definitions and then one last example for us today. So the exchange rate fluctuates from day to day and different currency exchanges. So that's why you're going to use what I give you, even if it's not current for today, you're going to do it anyways. Exchanges use selling rates and buying rates. So the selling rate is what you pay when you get the new currency, right? The bank is selling you the currency. The buying rate is what you receive when you convert back to your original currency. The bank is buying the currency from you. Should be bank. So it's almost a little bit opposite. So it's all about the bank. The selling rate is when the bank sells it to you. The buying rate is when the bank buys it back from you. Okay. So Anne works for an automotive parts distributor and visits Switzerland to source new products. She asks the bank teller to convert some currency for her trip. On a given day, the bank selling rate of the Swiss franc compared to the Canadian dollar is 1.0501, and the buying rate is 1.0213. So how many Swiss francs would Anne receive for $400 Canadian? Okay, so Anne is receiving, which means that the bank is selling. So we are going to be dealing with this selling rate. Okay, so the Swiss franc compared to the Canadian dollar. So that means 1 Swiss franc is going to give me 1.0501 Canadian dollars. Right, so 1 Swiss franc is a little bit more than $1 Canadian. That kind of makes sense. So I would need to know how much money I am going to get for $400 Canadian. All right, well, again, there's lots of ways we can do this, but if I have 1 Swiss franc over 1.0501 Canadian, that will equal my unknown X over $400 Canadian, and I can cross multiply. So that would give me 400 equals 1.0501 times my unknown. Well, I am multiplying here, so I need to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. That's going to get rid of that funky decimal, and I'm going to have my unknown all by itself. So 400 divided by 1.0501 is going to give me the value here of X equals 380.916. So let's round it properly here. She will receive 380.92 Swiss francs. Okay, if Anne sold them all back to the bank on the same day, how much would she receive? Okay, so she's now going to say, I'm actually, the Swiss trip is canceled, just give me my Canadian dollars back. So we are now using the buying rate, right? The bank is going to be buying that money, right? The bank is buying. So now the bank is going to say, well, 1 Swiss franc equals 1.0213 Canadian, right? They sold it to her at 1.05, but they're going to buy it at 1.02. And she has 380.92 Swiss francs, and we need to find out how much Canadian she's going to get. So especially when I have it set up this way, I like to use this shortcut because to get from 1 to 380.92, it's pretty clear I need to multiply by 380.92. And what I do to that side, I have to do to the other side. Now, if you don't like this method, don't use this method. Right? There's lots of different ways. If you need help or want me to show you more ways, come see me and I can certainly do that for you. But now I have 1.0213 times 380.92, and she's going to get back 389.03 Canadian. All right, so she's lost money. Her net loss is going to be $400 minus $389.03, and it is about $10.97. So it's not a whole lot, but it is still significant. That still sucks that she's lost that money just in that processing, really, of between currencies. All right, that's it. That's the biggest type of question I'll ask you about currencies. A lot of it is going to be just that ratio, or I guess a rate conversion. Again, using that proportional reasoning skills that we've been honing all chapter. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I've got some practice questions and some chapter review questions for you to work on. So lots of work for you to do. Let's get to it.